We're going to do a little bit of evaluation here at the All-Star break. We're going to talk about who's had a good first half of the season, who's had a really bad first half of the season, who are the surprises, who are the disappointments. All-Star break, kind of a report card. Yankees, Baltimore, tied for first place, pretty much, in the American League East. That's a war zone. And the fact that Yankees have done this without Garrett Cole and with injuries to Stanton and Anthony Rizzo and then Judge and the minor nagging things with Soto, that's pretty impressive. The Yankees are where they are, right there nipping at the heels of the Orioles. So that's a surprise. I think Cleveland's one of the best teams in baseball nobody knows anything about. Look at the Indians. The Indians have the best bleeping record in the American League.
The Indians.
Indians. The Guardians. I'm sorry, my heart is always somewhere else. Indians-Gardens. Jose Ramirez is one of the most underrated all-stars, superstars in baseball. He's the cornerstone of the anchor. Stephen Kwan leads the American League in hitting, like in the 360s. Now, he was on the DL for a while. He's come back and he's hitting. Cleveland's just got just a unique collection of really young players with a low payroll. Boston had a miserable start to the season, and just people, the media in Boston was just berating the ownership that you need to blow this thing up. Well, the ownership said, these kids are going to get better, and these kids have gotten better, led by Jared Duran. So Boston, to me, is a surprise team. You tell me how Houston has 50 wins this season, with 6 of their top 7 pitchers having been on the disabled list with crippling injuries. And then, of course, we've obviously got the really good Phillies team, which is 62-34, just bashing the daylights out of everybody at Citizens Bank Ballpark. And they've got 4 really established starting pitchers. I think Dave Dombrowski is one of the best general managers in baseball. He never gets any credit. And for the Dodgers to be 56-41 with 16 pitchers on the disabled list, they have only one established starter in their rotation, James Paxton, the street free agent. Everybody else is gone. And the Dodgers are still 56-41, and half their batting order isn't hitting either. Top of the batting order is at they get to the All-Star breaks hitting 284. The bottom of the batting order is hitting 208. Ooh. And the bullpen's got holes in it. So those, to me, John, Baltimore Yankees in the East, Cleveland, what Boston has grown into, the ones that have survived the injuries, how dominant Philadelphia is, those are the ones to me that I think are the most pleasant surprises in Major League Baseball.
Talking about surprises, I mean, what about the Royals? I mean, they're doing pretty darn well.
They were, and it's kind of like they hit a wall. And they've had some pitching injuries, and they are just now a shade above 500. They've kind of regressed. So unless they do something at the deadline, they get somebody back healthy. Though Seth Lugo, ex-Padre, is in the All-Star game.
Yeah,
but
good for him.
But as well as they played the first 2.5 to 3 months of the season, they're just not the same team right now. So I don't know that I call them a big surprise. Out of the gate, yes, but not so much now.
Yeah. So, and then in the National League Central, is Milwaukee still leading that division? I mean, that just seems to be kind of a mess. Is there any surprise team there?
That's a surprise to me. There is I guess I'm going to use the word surprise because of injuries. Milwaukee's had so many everyday players get hurt, and they started the season having traded away Corbin Burns, having lost Brandon Woodruff. They're down starters, and they got 55 wins. They're 55-45 here at the break. So to me, I think they have to go down as a surprise, considering what happened in the pitching staff. And Atlanta's got 53 wins, and Atlanta does not have its ace, Spencer Strider, gone for the year with the elbow, does not have the MVP, Ronald Acuna, gone for the year, does not have the other young outfielder, Michael Hill. He's not been able to stay on the field and stay healthy. And Atlanta's got 53 wins. So they, to me, I think are a bit of a surprise team too.
Yeah, I mean, just those pitchers on that team are incredible. I didn't realize, how much depth they have of really ace pitchers, because it was Sale, and then who was the kid that is leading the league in ERA? Lopez?
Yes, Ray Lopez.
Yeah.
And then Schwellenbach, who pitched in the middle of that series, was pretty dominant too. You look at their roster, that's pretty much all homegrown talent.
Yeah. I love watching Ozzie Albies. That little guy, man, he can launch bombs. It's unbelievable. Yeah.
So anyhow, those are the best teams we talked about. These are the surprise teams. Let's talk about the disappointments. Tampa Bay, all those big bats. ravaged by injuries. Not having Wander Franco has been catastrophic, and he's out of baseball. Tampa Bay's 43-52, and they've had a lot of pitching injuries too. So that's a real disappointment. I thought Detroit was going to arrive this year in the American League Central, and their pitchers just have not lived up to their reputation. Their big power hitting first baseman Spencer Torkelson got sent back to AAA baseball for a while. They're just not pitching and they're not hitting. Cincinnati's been a disappointment. They've been building towards really good things with a lot of homegrown products, and they lost so many of their cornerstone kids in spring training, including the shortstop McLean. He's not played with a season-threatening shoulder injury. L.A. De La Cruz has just been fabulous to watch, but there's so many guys in Cincinnati just have been all dinged up and have been on and off the disabled list. Obviously, the disgrace of Colorado, what ownership has done there, what the Oakland A's have done, and the Padres. I'm really disappointed. To me, they've underachieved. How the hell can you have 5 All-Stars and be 50-49 and be, for the third time this season, on an extended losing streak? So, anybody else like to add and want to argue with me about disappointments?
Well, what about the Texas Rangers? I mean, they're the World Series champs, and I think last I checked, they're still below 500.
Wreckage of injuries.
Mm-hmm.
No pitchers. None. Corey Seager's been hurt at least 3 times. Their outfielders, their power-hitting outfielders have had injury. Adolis Garcia, those guys have been hurt. So they just never been able to put a full team on the field. If it were the team that won the World Series last year, they'd probably be in first place or fighting for first place. But instead, they got their best part of their team is on the disabled list.
Yeah, well, then the Mets, too, another bomb of a team. I mean, they got all that payroll, and how are they doing? They're kind of on the cusp.
They've had a better last 2 months than a horrid start. But their problem is they're living on borrowed time, and they got so many journeyman starting pitchers. And again, these are the guys that got rid of Max Scherzer and Verlander and all these guys a year ago. And I looked at the rotation opening day. I said, this is what you're putting on the field. You're not going to win. I think this is a transition year, and I think the contracts are expiring and deferred money's expiring, and I think the Mets are going to dive back in to free agency and crank their payroll up again. But it's a better team right now than it was from Memorial Day weekend. But I don't think it's a playoff team by any stretch. And, their future is going to be their future. And they got to deal with Peter Alonso because he's a walk free agent represented by who?
Scott Boras.
Who takes his people to
free agents.
You got it, brother.
Yeah.
So that's where we are. So that's the All-Star break. We're going to enjoy Home Run Derby. The game is going to be fascinating. Corbin Burns, the ex-Milwaukee Brewer, now with the Orioles, will start against Pittsburgh's rookie Paul Skeens with his 100-mile-an-hour fastball. So that'll be fun, at least for the first inning, to see how Skeens does against the superstars, and we'll have some Padres there. So if you got a comment about your favorite team, who started fast, hasn't done well, who do you blame? Feel free, jump on board of Fans Forum. Do you know the best